some explanations fast. I see my present partner in the imperfect tense, and I don't see how we can last. I feel I need a change of course. Everybody's playing the game, but nobody's rules are the same. Nobody's on nobody's side. Better learn to go it alone and recognize you're out on your own. Nobody's on nobody's side. The one I should not think of keeps rolling through my mind, and I don't want to let that go. No lover's ever faithful, no contract truly signed. There's nothing certain left to know, and how the cracks begin to show. Never make a promise or plan, and take a little of where you can. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never stay too long in your bed, and never lose your heart, use your head. Nobody's on nobody's Never take a stranger's advice, and never let a friend fool you twice. Nobody's on nobody's side. Everybody's playing the game, but nobody's rules are the same. Nobody's on nobody's side. Don't leave a moment too soon. Never waste a hot afternoon. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never stay too long. Never stay a minute too long. And I get the best way. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never be the first to believe, and never be the last to deceive. Nobody's on nobody's side. Nobody's on nobody's side.
First guest, well, what can I say? He's probably one of Britain's most famous lyricists.
I've known Elaine for 36 years, and I've worked with her on 2 shows. Evita, obviously, where I met her, and some years later on Chess.
You look fantastic.
When Elaine auditioned for Evita, she didn't sing Don't Cry for Me Argentina, which everybody else seemed to do. She sang the Beatles Yesterday, and that was probably quite clever because it made her stand out.
His list of achievements speak for themselves. He has 2 Oliviers, 3 Oscars, 4 Tonys, and amazingly 12 Ivor Novello Awards.
I remember I had a chat show in the early 80s, and Elaine was one of my first guests, so I'm delighted to be able to return the compliment.
Tim, it's great to see you.
It's great to be here.
Well, that's great to hear.
It's great to hear you say that.
We could go on and on. So we've known each other. We've known each other. Oh my God. This is not going to be easy. We've known each other a long time, since the 70s.
Correct.
When I was in the chorus of Jesus Christ Superstar. But since I've just sung Nobody's Side from Chess, I thought that might be the musical that we should talk about first. And of course you wrote it with Benny and Bjorn from ABBA. How did that collaboration begin?
Well, I had the idea, which might not have been a brilliant one, to do a piece about the Cold War, which actually happened in real life, using chess as a kind of substitute for the Cold War. I hawked it around to 1 or 2 other composers who were not interested, but Bjorn and Benny were very interested, and I had to fit myself somehow into this world-famous, brilliant duo. And roughly speaking, I would come up with a plot, which I already had done. Benny and Bjorn would provide me with a tune, and then I'd write lyrics to that. But we all cooperated all the time. Bjorn came up with a lot of good lines, and it had to be a close cooperation between us. And I spent a lot of time in Stockholm, which was great.
Good place to spend a lot of time.
It was a fantastic place.
I remember the first song that you ever played me from those early workshops. It was called, I don't know if it was the real title or whether it was a dummy title, but I remember it as When the Waves Roll Out to Sea. And it kind of went, I think it went, when the waves roll out to sea, I know that he won't return for yet another year. I'll be waiting on this windy pier, da, 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 something like that.
Well,
I mean, it was just, I remember thinking at the time, it was just the most amazing tune, and I thought, wow, there's something special about this.
But the tune never made it into the show.
No, well, that's what I was going to say.
That was so strange, yes.
It never made it into the show. And what happens to those tunes? I mean, I know you as a lyricist, you can't really recycle lyrics as easily as perhaps Benny or
no, it's very
other
annoying, that.
composers can recycle the tune. So what happened? Do you know if that ever did get reused?
I don't know whether it was in the Christina opera afterwards. I don't think it was. But, for example, I Know Him So Well, which was a massive hit for you, that was originally part, or some of it, was part of a song that ABBA used to sing on stage.
Oh, really?
So you'll hear a bit of I Know Him So Well with totally different lyrics. I could never have put the lyrics of Don't Cry For Me, Argentina into The Lion King. That would have been difficult.
No, it would have been slightly odd, that. You're right.
But tunes can move around quite easily.
Do you think that lyricists are the unsung heroes of musicals?
What an interesting question. Well, I think sometimes lyricists, yes, are underrated, but perhaps not so much in theatre. It's sometimes a bit annoying when I read, you know, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Evita. I've got over it now, don't worry. But so I think, well, actually, it's both of ours. You know, I would hate it to be Tim Rice's Evita. And people should realise, if you're listening, critics, you should realise this, that a musical is equally the creation of the lyricist and the composer.
Now, as well as writing for the stage, you've had huge success writing for Disney. Yep. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King. You also wrote a Bond movie track, didn't you? Octopussy. I mean, that must have been a bit of a tricky lyric.
Well, I got a call from John Barry, and he said, would you like to do the next James Bond song? Which is a silly question. I thought about it for 0.001 of a second. I said, I'd love to. I said, what's the film called? And I thought it would be something romantic, like The Spy Who Loved Me. And he said, Octopussy. And I said, I'm sure that that's going to be easy. And he said, no, they don't want the song to be called Octopussy. They want it to be called something else. Well, actually, you know, and I thought exactly what you've just said. I thought, phew. And I wrote a song which did quite well, called All Time High. I gave them 6 titles, and John said, give them 6 titles, they'll choose one, then they'll think they thought it up. So I gave them 6 titles. They chose All Time High. But looking back on it, I think one could have written a much wittier song called Octopussy. It didn't have to be, you know, risque, but you know, could have been a good song. And I quite like to write a song called Octopussy one day.
Have you ever kind of considered what you might have written?